Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into Chapter 28, which is all about securing wireless networks. We're going to demystify the complex and, frankly, kind of terrifying alphabet soup of wireless security and figure out exactly how to protect our invisible data from everyday threats.
I want you to start by just asking yourself a simple question. Is anyone listening to your Wi-Fi right now? Just imagine your most private data, your passwords, your texts, your banking info, literally floating through the air, bouncing off the walls of your living room and hitting the antennas of complete strangers walking down the street. It's a pretty unsettling thought, isn't it?
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the invisible Wi-Fi threat.
You know, we all absolutely love Wi-Fi for the convenience, but it has one massive inherent flaw. It totally lacks physical boundaries. Think of a wired network like passing a tightly folded top-secret note through a secure physical tube. The cable physically traps the data inside. But wireless? Going wireless is basically like standing in a crowded room and shouting your password at the top of your lungs. It gets broadcast to absolutely anyone in range who's willing to tune in.
So, if we look at these two side by side, wired connections are closed circuits. They're secure, bounded, and tangible. Wireless connections, on the other hand, rely entirely on radio waves moving through the open air, which makes them ridiculously easy to intercept. Those invisible wireless frames don't just magically travel in a perfectly straight line directly from your router to your phone. They blast out everywhere, following the transmitter's antenna pattern.
So, that brings us to the million-dollar question. If our data is literally flying everywhere, how do we actually stop eavesdroppers from snatching it right out of thin air? Well, it turns out we have to build a three-part fortress around our data. And the very first wall of that fortress, it's all about proving your identity.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, proving who you are.
This is the absolute first critical step in our wireless defense. Before a single drop of data gets exchanged, we have to verify that the device trying to connect is actually allowed to be there. We build this comprehensive three-layered shield. Layer 1, authentication, proving who we are. Layer 2, message privacy, hiding the data once we're in. And Layer 3, message integrity, making sure nobody tampered with the data.
Let's zoom in on that first layer for a second. Authentication. This is the process where any potential client device has to identify itself by presenting valid credentials to the access point before it can join the network. Back in the early days, we used something called open authentication, but it was incredibly weak. I mean, literally anyone could join. So networks had to evolve to actively challenge clients, making sure rogue devices, or, your neighbor's creepy smart fridge, couldn't just casually stroll in and start snooping through your corporate secrets or home network.
Okay, boom, we proved who we are, we typed in the password, and we are officially on the network. But wait, what if our data gets intercepted mid-air, right after we connect? See, authentication gets you through the front door, but it does absolutely zero to protect your actual data from being read while it travels through free space over to the router. So, how do we fix that massive blind spot?
That takes us to Section 3, hiding data in plain sight.
To protect our data's privacy once it leaves our phone or laptop, we rely on encryption. This means securing the wireless network by using shared keys, so only the transmitter and the receiver can successfully scramble and unscramble the data. Behind the scenes, the access point securely negotiates a completely unique encryption key just for your specific device. That means even if some random guy is sitting on the exact same Wi-Fi network as you, they cannot eavesdrop on your specific conversation. It just looks like gibberish to them. But hold on, think about this for a second. We scrambled the data, sure, but what if a hacker intercepts that scrambled package mid-air, flips a 0 to a 1 just to be malicious, and then sends it along to the router? Encryption hides the contents, but it doesn't automatically tell the receiver if that encrypted package got maliciously altered while it was in transit. That is a huge vulnerability.
And this is exactly where the MIC, or Message Integrity Check, swoops in to save the day. The MIC is a cryptographic value computed from the frame contents and then added right onto the message to detect any tampering. Think of it like that little tamper-evident plastic seal on a new medicine bottle. The receiver computes its own MIC the second the data arrives and compares it to the sender's MIC. If those two values don't match up perfectly, it means the frame was tampered with, and the router just immediately chucks it in the digital trash.
Let's move on to Section 4, the WEP and WPA evolution.
Now that we've got a handle on the three pillars, authentication, encryption, and integrity, let's look at how they've actually evolved. Because as you'll see time and time again in the tech world, the second we build a defensive wall, hackers figure out a way over it, which just forces us to build a taller, stronger wall. Back in 1999, we started with WEP, which used really simple RC4 ciphers. It got cracked super easily and is officially dead today. Please, never use web. Then in 2004, the Wi-Fi Alliance gave us WPA2, which brought robust, government-grade security to the masses. And most recently, in 2018, they introduced the highly advanced WPA3 standard to deal with modern, sophisticated threats.
When you lay all this alphabet soup out side by side, the progression is pretty clear. WPA was really just a quick stopgap measure, using something called TKIP. Then WPA2 brought in the heavy-duty stuff, AES encryption using CCNA. And finally, WPA3 upgraded us to a highly efficient standard called GCNA. But here's the key takeaway. Look at the bottom row. Notice that they all still support pre-shared keys, which is exactly how most of us log in at home.
Okay, enough of the underlying math and history lessons. With all these acronyms and standards constantly flying around, how do you actually configure this stuff on a real-world router? Like, what do these settings look like when you or an IT professional are actually setting up a network?
Let's break it down in Section 5, Personal versus Enterprise Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi Alliance essentially gives us two primary deployment modes for these protocols, and honestly, understanding the difference here is the secret to picking the right tool for the job. First, we have Personal mode. This uses a pre-shared key, or PSK. It's super easy to set up, you just type in a password, but literally everyone on the network shares that exact same password. Perfect for your living room, right? But then there's Enterprise mode. This uses individual credentials through a radius server. This is absolutely mandatory for businesses. Because, think about it, if you use Personal mode at a company and one employee loses a laptop, that shared corporate password is now compromised for everyone. Enterprise mode completely prevents that disaster.
But let's get back to your house. Say you're using Personal mode, just like most of us do. What happens if a bad guy parks a car outside your house, silently captures the initial connection handshake floating through the air, goes home, and uses an automated computer program to just guess your password thousands of times a second offline? Well, that is a very real, very dangerous vulnerability in WPA2 Personal, known as an offline dictionary attack.
So, how do we fix it? That brings us to our final part, Section 6, Securing Your Wireless Future.
Is there actually a way to stop a supercomputer from brute forcing your Wi-Fi password offline? Yes, absolutely. WPA3 introduces something pretty incredible called Simultaneous Authentication of Equals, or SAE for short. This is a brilliant piece of protocol design that completely rips out and replaces that vulnerable WPA2 handshake. SAE strengthens the key exchange so much that it makes it mathematically impossible for an eavesdropper to guess your password offline, even if they perfectly captured your initial connection traffic.
And the ultimate safety net of WPA3 really comes down to this quote directly from Chapter 28. Even if a password is compromised, WPA3 Personal offers forward secrecy. What does that actually mean in plain English? It means that if a hacker somehow manages to steal your Wi-Fi password tomorrow, they still cannot go back in time and decrypt the private data they intercepted from you today. Your past data remains perfectly locked away. It's an absolute game changer.
So, I want to leave you all with a thought. The very next time you connect your phone to a Wi-Fi network, I want you to ask yourself, what invisible defenses are actually protecting your data right now? Are you just shouting your secrets into the void on an open network? Or are you wrapped in the heavy armor of modern encryption? Seriously, I highly encourage you to log into your own home router today and check. Are you still running the older WPA2? Or have you finally made the jump to the highly secure WPA3? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and stay secure out there.